Hello and welcome to In Conversation with the One Hour Mentor, Anak Desai. Anak Desai has been a suit for 30 years before he turned mentor, coach, and founder of the One Hour Mentor and OnePlus 99 Experience Consulting. You can learn more about him across social media platforms as @Anak. This is a casual conversation with professionals from various fields. We ask them about their life journey and attempt to gather lessons from their triumphs and failures. This recorded show is accessible on YouTube and other platforms. So let's begin our conversation with the One Hour Mentor, Anak Desai.
And our guest today is Prashant, PC as is popularly known in the trade, a stalwart amongst agencies. He's been instrumental in running and starting up multiple agencies. He now is focused on learning carpentry, modeling his house, and a couple of more passionate projects, which he calls them something he has always wanted to do. Welcome, Prashant. So, what's been happening? Repainting the house, and I believe creating furniture and all of that.
No, I sort of got into designing my own furniture a couple of months back.
Okay.
So I've sort of I have a nice little terrace.
Okay.
I ordered these wooden pallets online and sort of designed an outdoor sitting area and all that. And then I said, okay, let me redo my bed. So I created a bed out of this wooden pallets.
Oh, very nice.
And then I have this collection. I have a huge collection of books and action figures, and they've been sort of in an open bookshelf. So I said, okay, let me just sort of redo the bookshelf. So I redesigned the bookshelf a little bit, got glass doors fixed, put some lights inside. And then I built a showcase for my display for my action figures and got my sofas refurbished. So yeah, I've been doing up the house, putting up posters, stuff that I got from Japan. I've got these cloth paintings you see behind me.
Yes.
There are like 5 or 6 of them that I have at home. So I just got the frame.
This is what, a rental place or?
This is a rental place.
So again, after a year, you will have to pick all of this and go.
No, so usually I sign a minimum 3-year lease. I don't like shifting every year. So I'm going to finish about a year now. So there's 2 more years left to go.
That is good.
But all the stuff that I got done is sort of, it's not modular, but you can sort of take it apart and fix it back very quickly. It's like a half a day's work.
Okay.
So I designed and got it done so that it's transportable.
Brilliant.
So, yeah, that's what's been. I mean, all this happened pretty much before the lockdown, all the furniture and all that. But I've been rearranging the house. I'm never happy with. So I always look for how can it look cleaner, how can it look a little better. Can I shift this sofa here? Can I move the TV there? So that's an ongoing process. So yeah, I've been busy with that, but also there's a lot of work which is coming in. Touch wood. I've been hearing that a lot of people are looking for work or work is drying up, but in my case, I think it's been the opposite. And I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but touch wood, I think there's a lot of work coming in. So I am sort of running 4 different companies since I quit my advertising job in Jan.
Okay.
So one is a technology company. So we've just built a influencer management platform.
Okay.
And we've done a soft launch. So we've done about 30-35 campaigns so far.
Okay.
So it's in beta testing. We were supposed to launch it, but then this lockdown happens. So we'll go for a full-fledged launch once things clear up.
Yeah, correct.
So it's this automated platform where you can log in and run your campaigns, pick your influencers and pay them directly, all of that. So it generates your own report, tells you on live basis what's happening with your campaign, shows you metrics, shows you which influencer gets what kind of reach and all of that. So transparency for brands is what we are looking at, and it's for the influencer, it's an online marketplace. He can pick and choose which campaigns he wants to or she wants to be part of.
part of, yeah.
Plus, we do a lot of, with the technology company, we do a lot of server management across 20, 30 different countries. We also do a lot of security consulting for websites and for organizations,
Okay.
online security. We do payment gateways, e-commerce platforms. So it's a whole range of technology solutions that we look at. Then I also run a content company. We make a lot of short films for the web. So we've made about 15 films so far. And so a friend of mine started it, and I sort of came on board as the business head / CEO. So there's a lot of interesting work happening there. And then there is a strategy consulting unit which my younger brother founded about 7.5 years back. So I'm running that business as well. But when I looked at the market, and one of the main reason why I quit advertising after 22 years and giving up on the safety of a fat salary and a big, whatever designations mean, but it wasn't an easy decision. But I realized that, see, advertising is not going to go anywhere, but I think I have done whatever I wanted to do, and I didn't see what I was myself doing this for the next 10 years. And the more I spoke to a lot of clients, CMOs, CEOs who were friends of mine, the more I realized that the biggest challenge that they were facing, or what keeps them awake at night, is not what's my next TVC or what's my next Facebook post. They're worried about dhanda, right? The C-suite only worries about dhanda. And there are different specialists, but there is no, I didn't see a model where somebody was standing with the CMO or the CEO and saying, I'm going to work with you to help solve this problem, and not just give you a solution, walk away, but be accountable for the outcome of this solution as well. So put your skin in the game. So the company that I launched, which is about now a month and a half, 2 months old, I haven't officially made it public, but a lot of friends and a lot of clients know it. It's called Gravity Integrated. So this is the first official public announcement I'm making using Anag's platform. So yeah, Gravity Integrated is a company that focuses on growth solutions.
Okay.
So we work with the C-suite executives, and a simple one-line proposition is, tell us what's the barrier to growth in your business, and we will try and find a solution, also implement that. So there are 3 managing partners. We call it the coming together of commerce, culture, and communication. So I have an ex-marketer, 20 years in marketing. He's worked with Chennai Super Kings. He's worked with Diageo, VIP, Gulf Oil. So a lot of very hard business marketing experience, building brands, building actual businesses, being responsible for margins and revenues. The second, obviously, is my younger brother. So he brings the brand and consumer strategy piece in, and I'm the comms. But we are not necessarily looking at the 3 of us as specialists. That's why we don't have designations like CEO, CEO and all. We are all 3 managing partners. So we are responsible for any business that comes in. And I have a bunch of people, that some in-house, some we work with. And I've also set up like a sort of Asia APAC level team, which works out of different countries, because I've realized, whether you call it the gig economy or whatever, clients increasingly don't care whether the team is in-house, whether they're sitting in the same city that the client is. They just want great work out. They want solutions to their problems, and they're willing to work with whoever is going to give them a fast, effective, and cost-effective solution, right? So I've got people out of Singapore, Indonesia, Middle East working with me on this, and I've got some clients who are also friends, who are based, a lot of them are based in India, some of them are based in Europe, some of them are in Southeast Asia. So yeah, work's been, Gravity's, touch wood, it's sort of taken off well. Maybe the timing was right. Maybe this is what, maybe the lockdown has had its own sort of impact on it, but touch wood, things are working well.
So college to what? Jack in the Box to Gravity. How and what has the journey been?
Well, I keep saying this line, right? I'm a jack of all trades and master of some. That's been, if you, that's a, I think, a good summary of from my college days till today, because I've done so many different things. I always wanted to be a writer, so I got into my BA literature, but then my parents pulled me out and made me do BCom. So when I was doing BCom, I entered a slogan writing competition for AppTech for a friend, and I also filled in a form of my own, and I won, and they gave me a 1 year scholarship, and I learned coding there. And then afterwards, while I was preparing for my MBA, I took a year off after my graduation, and I said, I don't want to sit at home. How many mock papers will I keep answering? So walked across to the Hotel Management Institute, which was like 2 lanes away from my house, and they had a walk-in interview. So I did a post-graduation in hotel management, and then I did an MBA in marketing. And yeah, and then I came to Bombay in '98. I've been working here since then. So it's now been 22 years in Bombay. So advertising started with space selling, advertising. Then I got into entertainment marketing. So the Inox at Nariman Point,
Right.
I was the marketing manager for it. So when I launched that theater, then came back into advertising. And in 2009, I said, yeah, you can't build brands by doing TVCs alone. The world is changing. And I was early on into the whole internet social media thing because of my interest in computers and the programming background that I had. So 2009 is when I sort of started Jack in the Box along with Rupak. And we started it off as a platform that would create content for brands. It was never supposed to be a social media digital agency because we just didn't want to be an agency at all. The first client we signed was Puma. And then the kind of work that we were doing for Puma, Red Bull saw that work and they signed us on. And then when we were working for Puma and Red Bull, L'Oreal came in. And so looking at all this work, Pepsi called us and they said, we want you on board. So, and while we were talking to Pepsi, 7-Up gave us their business. So Jack in the Box just took off from creating content to brands saying, we want you to manage our digital and we manage our social. And we ended up with probably at that point of time, maybe the coolest brands in India. So we had Red Bull, Puma, Pepsi, 7-Up, L'Oreal, Kerestas, Louis Philippe, Ed Hardy, Esprit, Jack Jones, Vero Moda, Only, Havaianas, Guess Watches. We had the entire Condé Nast portfolio with us. Yeah, I did that for 4 years. Then I moved out. And I went and joined Contract to sort of restart the digital arm, which was iContract. And again, by the time I quit Jack in the Box, it had gone from 0 people when I joined to about 120 people who were reporting to me. So from there, again, I was like, okay, I need a new challenge. So iContract was 3 people when I joined. So, the next 3 years, I built that into a 45-member team. We signed Google, we signed all of Reckitt, et al., Durex, did some great campaigns with them. And one of the things has been wherever I've gone, Pepsi's always given me business and Google has always given me business. So those two are relationships which I've had like for 6-7 years. Yeah, so that happened 3.5 years there. And then I was like, I think I needed a pivot in my career and I was looking at, I've done a lot of mainline and I've now done a lot of digital. How do I bring these two worlds together? Because the future is all about, if there is one brand and there's one consumer, why do you have 2 different things from a communication perspective, right? Comms should also be one. No client asks their agency for mujhe TVC ka strategy do. So why are you asking for a digital strategy, right? So my belief was that you need strategy for a world that has gone digital and for a consumer who's constantly connected, who's always connected. That's when the Publicis Leo Burnett job happened. I met Saurabh, had a bunch of meetings. I met him for something else actually. And then in the conversation, Saurabh just suddenly turned around and said, listen, your biggest strength might be digital, but I think your biggest strength is your ability to work with people, with diverse people, and your ability to, your skill sets in strategy. So he said, why don't I want to create a role for you called the Chief Integration Officer. So I want you to come on board as the CIO for Publicis South Asia, which is basically India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka. To me, that was a complete unknown and sort of, I was in the same space, I think, mentally when I started Jack in the Box. I had no idea what digital was at that point of time. I just jumped in. And this Chief Integration Officer role, I don't think existed anywhere in the world. It was the first time it was created. And a lot of people laughed at it and said, what are you doing? What is this fancy role and all that. But I think I've always been somebody who loved doing stuff that other people probably laughed at or didn't think would work. And that's always been challenging for me. So I said, okay, I'll make this work. So I went in with a simple thing of saying, forget integration. People would ask me in the group also, so what are you going to do? I said, I would tell them, I'm going to give you a lot of business if you work with me. Because you might be running, say, an FMCG brand, but their digital or their technology or their production or their activation is being done by 4 other agencies. Let's get all that business in. So I looked at my role as building a culture of collaboration in the group. So that's where I realized designations don't work with designations. People work with people. So the more you get people together, so we used to do every month, we used to do town halls, we used to do these um, multi-agency meetings, the key leadership meetings, sitting, talking about problems, how can we work together? And over a period of time, that really worked. So I think over the 1.5, 2 years that I had this role, we created organic revenue of about 25 crores. So I look at that as a success metric, because for me, at the end of the day, the numbers matter. You might I mean, everybody can say, oh, I did a lot of work and I worked very hard, but nobody cares, right? What matters to people is what's the outcome. And outcome is always dhanda. Yes, great work, awards and all that stuff, but businesses survive on money.
Business, yeah.
Need money. There can't be prosperity without, or there can't be great creativity without financial prosperity. So that's what happened. But then, as I said, I sort of finished about 22 years and I said, yeah, what's next? Is this what I want to keep doing? And then I said, maybe it's time for me to do something on my own, use everything that I've learned. And that's where Gravity came in.
So Jack in the Box still exists.
It still exists.
Okay.
Jack in the Box is very much there. Although size-wise, I don't think it's the same size as it was or what it was doing earlier. But yeah, it's still there.
Yeah, coming to your technology usage of influencer platform selection and all that, how does it differ from those doing manually? And at the end, I mean, it is somebody who has never seen or understood what it is, selecting somebody either on the platform or depending on a agency to select the best possible people. And I think it's been now 10 years since I have been constantly exploring and questioning this medium. And in fact, recently with Roshan Abbas also, I had the same conversation. And I said, what if I gave you the same kind of numbers or reach with 10 people who would probably charge 1 lakh each compared to your 100 people who are charging 5,000 rupees? So he says, no, yaar, but the clients keep wanting the numbers only.
See, I think, my sort of take on this is pretty much what happened with digital agencies and social media agencies, right? When this whole social media thing first came in the late 2000s, it was a shiny little thing which everybody wanted to experiment with.
Sure.
Right? They didn't see beyond, oh, this is cool thing and there is this new thing and all the young people are on social media, so we must do something there. So they would set aside, well, a little minimal budget, and agencies were willing to work on 25, 30,000 rupee retainers and all of that. For me, what matters is any new thing which comes in will not scale or make a huge impact until it impacts business, right? Digital actually became big and companies started taking it seriously once e-commerce happened, right? And that's where the big money got pumped in. I think the whole influencer management category or industry needs to start demonstrating how it impacts business and not just engagements and likes. So if you, for example, look at what TikTok is doing, they're also now running performance campaigns using influencers, right? So I think probably in a year, and no industry can sort of demonstrate its impact by itself. You need clients to also buy into that. I think a lot of experimentation is happening now. I think it will take a little time for it to settle down, but I honestly believe that this industry will be taken seriously when we start having impact on business. Because beyond a point, I mean, if you look at TikTok, people talk about, oh, we got 5 billion views on this campaign. I mean, who really cares? In a 1.66 or 1.3 billion population country, 5 billion views is nothing. So I think we need to go beyond these views and see. I think the most important thing is figure out what's your success metric for doing this for an influencer management campaign. If you're saying I want to trend something or I want 200 videos, okay, but what is it really doing to your business? So I think we're a little maybe a 6 months to 1 year away from having a serious look at what influencer management is doing. And there is always this debate about the big influencers while vis-a-vis the micro influencers. I think both work. But I think increasingly for me, the question always has been, what does the influencer really influence? If you're not influencing behavior, if you're not influencing purchase or consideration, then you're not really influencing anything. And authenticity of content is also important. If, for example, you look at the entire beauty fashion space, it's very difficult to tell one influencer's content apart from another influencer's content. It's questionable in a lot of things, but I think it will evolve. I don't think the whole influencer piece will fade away, but I think the thing is, there is no metric to say, why is X influencer asking for so much? Why am I really paying that person that much money?
So, sure, I think you have it right, but it's that same thing when you plan a marketing plan and you say, okay, let's take Shah Rukh Khan for Santro. Technically, he's not selling Santro.
No.
Right. Now, if that being the case, or, I don't know, Amitabh saying Saffola, say, heart acha ho jata hai, vagare. Nobody really believes the fact that Amitabh is using Saffola.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is this, right? Whether you pick a Shah Rukh for Hyundai and you pick an Amitabh for X brand, because you look at the match between the values of the brand and what this ambassador also stands for, or the celebrity stands for. And what works there is exclusivity. Shah Rukh is not endorsing 5 other car brands, right? And that's one big problem in the influencer space, is that the same influencer is endorsing 4 different brands in the same category. So why would anybody take that person so seriously?
But why would he not, when the payment is 5,000 rupees compared to a 5 crore rupee of a Shah Rukh Khan?
Correct. So that's what I'm saying, that the business needs a rejig. Exclusivity in certain cases is going to be important. Credibility will happen only then, and business impact has to happen. As I said, it's an evolving space. I don't think there are any fixed rules right now, but increasingly a lot of clients are also looking at, want transparency in influencer management, right? Tum karoge kya mere liye? And what will it get me?
Okay. So why this hue and cry about influencers have to announce everything and be open about it, whereas I don't think any sponsorship or a fam trip says that you need to do it.
I think Instagram insists that you must announce that it's a paid sponsorship and it's not organic and all that, but I don't see too many people actually following that. I don't think anybody's taking that seriously. And I think Instagram is doing that to sort of say that this is paid for and this is organic, therefore. But I don't think people really care, honestly. I mean, it doesn't matter to me whether an influencer is actually putting out saying I'm being paid for it, because when I see a product in an influencer's hands or a celebrity's hands, I know they're not doing it for free. Doesn't really matter to me. I don't think it really matters to any audiences.
So if with 20 to 23 years behind you, if a person comes to you and says, Prashant, how I want to start a social media agency, what's the first reaction? Sorry?
Please don't.
But if that person still insists, what are the 2-3 guru mantras you would give him or her to be successful?
Yeah, I honestly don't believe that India needs one more social media agency. There are so many of them, right? And when there are so many, there is an oversupply. But if you really look at which are the really great digital agencies, there are probably 4 or 5 of them, right? They're not more than that, honestly. Um, I would suggest that try and, but I think there is a huge space for platform specialization. So if you want to start a social media agency, I would say, why don't you just focus on being a specialist TikTok platform agency or a specialist Instagram agency, right? Um, First thing I would say is that figure out what makes you different from every other social media agency out there. Otherwise, getting business is going to be tough, right? You might have some connections. Maybe X client is going to give you business, but once you sign your first 1 or 2 clients, what are you going to do to scale? Because you'll be competing with everybody for the same 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, 4 lakhs. So unless you set up your own specialization, it's going to be difficult for you. So the first thing I would say is figure out why you're different and how you can build a completely new model. Second, I would say get key talent in. You can't really be one person founder name. You need a really good creative partner to be in this business. So these two, I would tell, if somebody was to approach me, I would say these 2 things, first focus on these 2. What's your business model and who's your creative partner? Or if you're a creative person who's starting this, then please get a business partner. Don't try to be both. You'll end up doing justice to neither of those roles. As I keep saying, right, creativity needs financial prosperity to thrive. So that's the combo that I always look at. Who's creative? Who's the business person?
So, what's your, should I say, learning of this journey of 22 years, that if given an opportunity, you could change that decision?
Change
the decision. I mean, one of those kind of failures where in the aftermath you realize that this question was inappropriate. I should have handled it better. I mean, what?
Oh, there are plenty of mistakes I've made, I think, or plenty of decisions that I've taken, which I could have handled far better. And I don't think you will ever grow if you don't make enough mistakes. The thing is, you should not make the same mistake twice. So there was this period in Jack in the Box where during a particular period, I sort of let go of 4 or 5 big clients. They were big brands, but they were not paying us enough. In hindsight, would I have still let go of those clients? Yes. I don't think they were making sense to us, but I could have handled those conversations far better. And also probably the business model in Jack in the Box could have been far better. But those were early days, nobody knew what the hell the business model was going to be. So we were all experimenting at that stage. Yeah, that's one decision that I would definitely have done it differently. And probably I would have rethought my decision of running Orchard. I would have given it some more thought, from moving from Chief Integration Officer to Chief Operating Officer of Orchard. Yeah, I guess these 2, top of the mind, these 2 are the.
Yeah. So, in a stress situation, where do we find you, with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea?
Chai. Coffee I only have if I'm stepping out. Chai is what I have at home. I make my own chai, so I prefer it in a certain way. That's why I don't have chai outside.
Okay, so when you say chai, it doesn't mean a chai snob or a chai connoisseur. The regular adrak wala.
Correct. Milky doodh wala adrak wala chai. I don't think I'm like a connoisseur in anything. I don't have snob value for anything. I'm just a little picky on certain things, but I'm not an expert on food, and I'm very basic. I call it Sundar Sasta Tikao Dal Chawal Achar is my food. And I don't eat meat. I eat chicken is the max I eat. So I'm predominantly a vegetarian. Being a South Indian, I prefer South Indian food. I'm very boring from a food perspective. Very, very boring.
So vada pav or pani puri?
Pani puri.
Interesting.
Spicy pani puri, no meetha.
Okay. So one last question, which probably will throw you to the wolves, but right now there is nobody, no wolves lurking around. So in the last 10, 12, 14, 15 years, I have read a pretty number of people who leave an organization. Most of them, my creativity was being stifled, and which is why I moved out. Or I wanted to do it in a certain manner, and Ogilvy did, or Walter Thompson, whoever the agency is, they did not allow me. So they move out. 3 months, 4 months later, you find one or two more people join. At the end of year and a half, you realize that one, they are no longer a specialist agency. They are an agency which is doing everything. And now the ultimate goal is to get acquired and make money.
Yeah.
So what is it that keeps everybody awake at night and saying that apna khud ka specialist agency khulna hai? I mean, what is special about that specialist agency?
It's a great question. I don't think there is anything special about most agencies. Right? Whether creative or any agency depends on the people, and no agency can stand in front of a client and say I'm better or I'm different or I'm more special because of the people I have or the awards that I have. Because if you look at digital or you look at mainline, the top 5 agencies have the same strength in creative, the same kind of awards that they have won, the same size of businesses. And that's the reason why clients ask for pitches. There is no differentiation today. So I don't think any agency can say we are a specialist agency. So, and of course, if you're an independent agency, absolutely shamelessly, no problem in saying, I want to be acquired in 3 to 5 years. Right? Yeah. Why would you start a company giving up the comfort of a corporate job if you don't want to make money off that company? If you want to do passion project, keep it to a hobby. Don't make it a career option. Right? So I completely agree with people who are saying, I'm going to start something and I'm going to look at acquisition in 3 to 5 years. That's the way to go, I think. Okay. And also depends on what life stage. If you're a 24, 25-year-old guy, like you look at the boys who started Foxy or Varun Dugirala who started Glitch, they started very young, right? So they're still running their agencies, right? Varun has obviously graduated to looking more at content and podcasts and all that. I don't think is very hands-on and from a daily basis in his agency. But those are nice journeys to have because they've started very young. I'm in my mid 40s. I have just started my company. I have no interest in running this company for 15, 20 years, right? I probably have another 10 years or 15 years of productive life. So yeah, I mean, it depends on what life stage and what is it that you start. In the communication business or whatever I'm doing, yeah, I would love to be acquired in 3 to 5 years.
That's interesting. So being acquired means freedom, and freedom comes with money, which currently in either way, both of that is there.
Yeah, it is there, but there's also, I mean, you don't just start a company because you want to make money. You want to start a company and if you strongly believe you have something a little different to offer. Right. In my case, I believe there is what I'm offering is very different. Okay. And because you want to build something of your own, it's sort of, this is the legacy that you want to leave. So it's never purely about making money. It's also about this is what I'm leaving behind, or this is what I've built, and this is completely something which I have done. So I think some people take that call, and I took this call. A lot of people have been asking me for like the last 6 years, why don't you start your own digital agency? Why don't you start? I said, I didn't start a digital agency of my own because I never thought my agency, no, I wanted to, but I never figured what is it that's going to be so different about my digital agency.
Correct. Right?
Because if you should never start a business or your own company out of your own sheer ego, right? If I thought, oh, I'm PC and, people will give me business because I've started my own agency, nobody's going to give you business because of your name.
But surprisingly, okay. But hold that thought. And some of these young PR and digital agencies, which I can't make out either way, which is a PR agency and which is a digital agency, because both of them seem to be doing the same thing. But a lot of them whom I have spoken to claim that this time has been very good for them. They have not had to retrench. They are getting a couple of more accounts, during this period. And fast forward to the other side of the spectrum, where everybody says, "Oh no, we'll have to, let go 20 people. Another 50 people will take a 50% pay cut, and so on." So,
See, it's a very interesting question and sort of very similar to personal finances, right? I think agencies which have money in the bank will
Yeah.
continue to do well, and
Right.
people who have money in their bank account are not going to be really worried about where the salary will come from.
correct.
It's people who have put money into fixed assets which can't be liquidated, and if 80% of all your money is in fixed assets, is where you will have a problem if income becomes uncertain in the next 2-3 months. Same thing goes with agencies, right? If you have a solid, stable, profitable business, increasingly a lot of clients are saying we are not going to spend on mainline, we're increasingly going to do digital, simply because all business is now moving digital, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
the agencies which have a very robust business model, have a really good financial, if they've got their financials sorted out, I don't think they will face a problem. Yes, temporarily or maybe for the slightly long term, pay cuts are possible. Every digital or every agency that I know is saying 10%, 20% kind of, 30% kind of pay cuts. Cash flows are an issue, but as I said, if you have done your financials well in the past, if you have
Then
enough working capital put out in your current account or in your savings account, right, to last for the next 3-4 months of expenses, you're in a good space. And I think in any case, that's actually very basic common sense way of doing business. You cannot exist from month to month. You can't depend on client paying on time for you to pay salaries and overheads. You need to have that money in the bank. 6 महीने का पैसा रखो. Very easy to say, very difficult to follow, but to me, you need to therefore grow at a pace which works for you. Rapid growth also can end up screwing you, and growth which is too slow also will end up screwing you. I think you need to figure out what's your right pace. So never grow beyond your means is what I would say. And means would be money. How much money do you have in the bank?
So, hey, Prashant, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on this. I'm sure some of the young people who come and talk about, how they want to leave their jobs and, start their agency. And one of the first questions which I asked them is, are you starting an agency to ensure that the 40,000 which salary comes to you from the agency, or there is another motive?
Yeah. I mean, right now, anybody wants to quit their job, I would say, please don't quit your job. Money is very important. Abhi kuch mat karo. Ye saal kuch mat karo. If you have a job that you hate also, as long as you're getting a bloody salary end of the month and you can go to sleep every night peacefully, please don't quit your job. Yeah. But if ever you want to start your own thing, yeah, I agree with you. Ask yourself that question, why are you doing this? And what is it that is different that you have to offer? Because
Absolutely,
it's very crowded, very crowded.
Very crowded. Okay, sir. Thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thanks so much, Anand.
I shall share the broadcast dates in the coming week with you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Let's catch up post the COVID, as I tell everybody.
Yes, and God knows when Mr. COVID is going to go away.
कभी ना कभी तो होगा, कोई चारा नहीं है.
Now I finally now feel like singing "Go Corona Go." I almost started to joke, but I'm like, seriously, yaar, please go, yaar. Kitna?
और कितना.
And then, like, I sort of go Corona Go, and as you're going, please take Arnab also with you.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Be safe.
Take care, Anand. Stay safe.
If you like this episode, like, share, and subscribe to the 1 Hour Mentor, Anag Desai.